Good.
Hamid,
Yeah, go ahead.
if you have a headset or an earbud, it would probably help with an echo.
Oh, is there an echo?
Also, we
I
lost
just went live on YouTube, but I can wait for Craig. Oh, we've lost Hamid. Of course, traditionally when we go live, we do lose our
That's
guests.
almost always what
I have
happens.
I have to have some kind of like technical difficulty audio on hand. Some kind of.
We're experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah, exactly, like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see what I got. Probably something.
I remember the movie.
Oh wait, Hamid's back. I don't have to dip into my audio library. Okay. There we go. Phenomena. Okay. We're gonna get a copyright strike.
This is called.
All right, I'm gonna start Craig since Hamid is back. Wait, actually, Hamid, are you back?
Wait a minute. Let's wait for Hamid to feel ready.
Wait, okay.
Let's wait for our guest to feel ready. Also,
we are on YouTube, but that's fine. That's fine. YouTube is like this sometimes. You were looking good on YouTube. Yep, we're looking good.
Yeah.
Good connection. Good connection.
Okay. Oh.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Hello to our.
We can hear you. Yes, and thank you for using your earbuds.
Hello. Great. Awesome. Yeah, no problem. You're welcome.
Okay, we just started the stream. So I'm going to call Craig into the room. Here we go.
Now recording.
All right, so welcome to the Yanggang Roundtable. It's 2:17 p.m. Sunday, May 1st, 2021. We have Ariel, Feiku, Mia, myself, and our guest Hamid here today. Welcome to the show, Hamid.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Hamid. I'm a Londoner. I've been brought up and work here in the UK. I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I'm going on the retirement thing, but I'm heading that way where I'm trying to take things a lot more easier and concentrate more on my health, my life, and family a lot more than just work.
Sounds good. I think that's a good route to travel.
Yeah, I think they deserve a lot more of my time nowadays.
Yeah, sounds like you have good values.
Thank you.
So we're a basic income advocacy podcast. Perhaps you are also an advocate of basic income.
100%. I mean, I'm a big fan of UBI. I think it's something that a lot of governments, even here, we've been. I belong to various groups where like when I say groups, as in like organizations, political ones, where we try and put pressure on the government and groups to actually implement it in certain elements of society.
Do you want to that sounds
what happens is we've got something called like social security. So people who don't work, they get etc. But it's not enough to live on. And even those people who are in work, they're not paid a reasonable amount for them to live comfortably or a decent life as well. So we've been putting pressure on various ministers, various parts of government to say that a minimum wage is not enough. We need a universal basic income for people so that whether they work or not, that they are able to kind of live decently and not have to kind of worry about they need to earn this much, they need to do this much.
Yeah, that has been what we've been hearing and saying for over a year on our show. So that's yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in this kind of stuff here for a while, and we see certain European countries that actually do advocate and do actually practice, trying to implement sometimes these kind of things. So maybe we could see that we could see them as like a guinea pig for what we want here. But because we've had social security or some kind of income that people who are not in work or not earning enough for them to get, but it's way below the poverty line. It's not enough for people to kind of live a decent life for them, for their families.
And I always say, like, Hamid, like, if you had £1,000 a month, would you quit that civil service job?
Listen, to be honest with you, I mean, I think it's not about the money aspect, because it's relative to, when I say this, because the £1,000, I mean, I personally, I earn more than that, but it's not about that. It's like, is the rent enough? Is there a cap on rent for private landlords? Is there, some kind of top up from the state that is provided, so that people then say, okay, if we get £1,000 and all these other things are kind of considered, then hey, we can have time for our families, actually have time for our, not having to kind of just work for somebody and work ourselves into the ground for literally nothing and have no time for ourselves. So as a gesture, I think £1,000 is like, in England, if it was a weekly income, yeah, I think people would be okay with it.
It's really interesting how UK and US, a lot of the same problems, just different assholes in charge, right?
Exactly,
Right.
and I think this is the thing. Our model, a lot of the time, is based on the US, but we're like 5 or 10 years behind. But then there are certain aspects of our model where we try to emphasize, I wouldn't say like socialism, but we like to put socialist principles, where we look at, kind of say, okay, we want the economy, we want the country to do well, but at least look at society, at least look at what is the fabric of, every kind of country, and says, are we looking after the right people? Are we helping people to kind of not feel alienated? And I would always say that we feel like we're behind you guys, but there are certain parts where we actually try to kind of cut and run. We don't want to be part of in some aspects.
Oh, I think that's probably for the best.
Yeah,
our
I think
healthcare system is definitely not enviable by any country's standards.
I mean, the thing is, I belong to a liberal and socialist groups over here. So I always look at things and say, okay, you know what? We need an economy that thrives, that works, but we don't need one that just kind of favors one set of people and alienates or marginalizes everybody else. So because it's quite a significant percentage of society here that think like that, we do put pressure on the government. But some governments are complete, like the current one is a complete arsehole, personally speaking. But then the one before that, and so on, they do listen. They do realize that actually there's a third of society that we are going to marginalize. And when it comes to not just the vote bank, but also to kind of have a part of society. At the time we were part of Europe, we're not anymore because of freaking Brexit. But they actually then say, if such a big percentage is under a certain poverty level, or certain percentage level that is not being inclusive, then hey, we're doing something wrong. So there were elements where European groups were working with us, whereas now we're kind of still working with them, but their input is not as valued by our government, because they got this fixation about wanting to kind of be an island and have their own kind of it's a falsehood. They say they want to kind of have the opportunity to make our own laws and run the country ourselves rather than Europe. But we were doing that before Europe, before we went out of Brexit anyway. So yeah, it's a lot of things that happen in this country at the moment where we got quite a few arseholes in place as well.
Right. And not to mention, like, in this country, when it comes to like socialism and communism, when the wealthy people need it, we're happy to have it. Like,
exactly.
it's just pure hypocrisy.
I think when you look at socialist capitalist models, and you look at Scandinavia or even certain parts of Europe, when it works, people are like, wow, look at how great it is. But hang on, we're the 5th biggest economy in the world in the UK. So why can't we implement some of it? So there are some principles that we should be looking at and thinking, actually, we need to provide a lot more. I think in the last 5 to 10 years, this country has cut due to this austerity mentality, where they've said, oh, I think this was after the Lehman Brothers crash. A few years after that, the government decided to cut every public service by about 30-40%. I worked in the civil service, and we were seeing our own teams that were working to deliver certain things being cut by 20, 30, 40%. And over the space of 4, 5+ years, you have so many services that are cut on the ground. It actually kind of disenfranchised society, where before we were quite a close-knit community in certain areas. Now people feel so segregated or marginalized from one another. It's crazy, honestly.
Right.
But hopefully, if we kick Boris out in the next few years, we can get back to that. Hopefully.
I've always found it interesting how we have we've had a rise in power for various leaders in multiple different countries that seem identical to each other, like in policies and thoughts. It's very strange. Like, why is that happening?
Well, I think the whole like Thatcher Reagan thing that happened back like near when I was actually before I was born or when I was born, that started happening, and that screwed everything up, like double trouble with these two terrible human beings. I don't know.
100%. I think those times. I mean, now you're making me feel old, Ariel, because I was actually, I was in school at that time, and I remember, part of his history programs, like reading all this stuff.
Right.
And the thing was, both of these guys. I mean, Thatcher. We had a nickname for Margaret Thatcher. We called her Thatcher Milk Snatcher, because in schools, when you went to school, you were given a milk, as part of your daily routine as well as breakfast. But when she came into power, she actually cut the supply of milk to schools. So it was like, hang on, you want young, healthy children who not only, might not get this provision at home, but at least they were getting it in school, and they were able to kind of have education, think well for the day, feel better if they weren't, for whatever reason, getting it, at home. But she took those provisions away, and since then, the decay in our society, especially from what government provisions we were getting, it's been on and on and on. And even now, I mean, now schools work in such a way that they work like a business instead of like a service to actually educate your children.
It's amazing. Yeah. There's this. Oh, I just want to say there's this.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's this British comedy called Spitting Image that makes like fun of all of them, and
they make their kind of all the politicians and the famous people. They make dummies out of them, like not waxwork, but like plastic dummies. So they and it's a bit like the Muppet Show, but obviously like a politicized version here, and it used to be hilarious. So yeah, we used to watch a lot of that when I was growing up. And to be honest, when you look at British humor, and especially when it comes to politics, we were able to kind of emphasize quite clearly, in a way, how we saw our leaders in the last 5+ years, 5 to 10 years. I think also the fact that populism, right-wing populism has taken such a strong hold in the media and in certain elements of politics here. You would see one part of the country heading this side, and the other just standing firmly towards the left and saying, we don't want a part of this. And it's like it feels really weird at the moment, because it feels like we're two different tribes. We might have grown up together, we might be kind of working alongside each other for so many years, but then you see certain people who actually follow a completely warped ideology, and instead of like working together and appreciating one another, which we used to say 10+ years ago, now it's like, no, you're the one to blame. We are not Great Britain anymore, because you guys are the ones who are to blame. But hang on, so 10 years before we were okay, and now, just because your head's been twisted by right wingers, we're the ones to blame. I mean, come on.
Well, I've also been recently concerned that it seems like India's leader Modi is also very populistic.
We used to call. Sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead. Hi,
Big time.
can you hear me?
We used to call Boris mini Trump because he used to try to. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was saying,
ahead.
like, we used to, and we still, we used to call Boris mini Trump because he used to try to emulate everything Trump did. And no offense, but this guy, I worked for Boris. I've got pictures I can show you guys where I worked for him. And this he is not clever. He's not kind of the kind of person that you want at the helm that wants to kind of do better for the country. He is purely just me, and what I can get out of it. And his ideas are, oh, let's divide society because one part of the society, if they are for us and they are tax dodgers and they are criminals, whatever, no problem, as long as we're winning. And it's kind of having a negative effect in the country. But when you look abroad and you see people like Narendra Modi, you see Bolsonaro, you see the Viktor Orban in Hungary. These guys are out and out fascists in their ideology, but they try and obviously go for the populist vote and turn the country into that kind of mentality as well. Hence
Yes,
why you
that's
see
exactly what I've been concerned about. That's exactly the thing, is I see it. It's one thing when America is weird because we're always weird. There's always something, we're the superpower, we're unique. There's something about us, it's always different. But then when you see it happening all over the world and you're seeing it in such different places, is it
I think with India, prior to Modi, you had Mr. Manmohan Singh. He was very placid, very good ruler. He actually worked for the better of the nation, from bringing people out of poverty and up to, doing well in terms of kind of bringing the society, to a level to say, look, you're not going to just live on $1 a day. You're actually going to get the opportunity. You're going to get the government assistance as well to actually help you have a better life, as well as your village, your town, etc. Modi is quite the opposite. He actually kind of pits minorities against minorities while having the biggest, population or percentage of it that is in favor of him. And it's like going back to nearly 100 years ago when Hitler came into Germany, and he kind of singled out all the people that he felt were bringing Germany down, and he singled out the Jews especially. And Modi is doing the same. He's looking at the minorities, who, whether they're well off or not, but because he feels that, hey, this will get me more popularity, because people do have this kind of mentality of having some kind of nationalism or populism, and he's been getting away with it for so long. I think even they manipulated the media to such an extent over the last few years that the media wasn't free to be able to report how they wanted. But I think after COVID, I think certain things are going to change over there.
Oh yeah, just around the world. In fact, like we had our stimulus. Yeah, we had our stimulus checks here, and we had this one politician. Like he's not noisy, but he's a piece of filth. Like crap. His name's McConnell, and the people of Kentucky keep
Mitch
voting
McConnell.
him in. Oh yeah, I like to call him Mitch McConjob. And he lost his Senate majority because he didn't want like the people of his country to have a measly $1,400. I mean, how much of a shitty human being can you be, right?
He's an asswipe, personally speaking. I mean, every time I see him on TV, he reminds me of the villain guy from Hellboy. So if you see somebody with that kind of, it's like he has no expression on his face, and even when he had the opportunity to, he looks like a tortoise. Yeah, he's got that kind of face, but the thing is, he's so expressionless that when you ask him for certain things, basic stuff, and he kind of pushed it to one side. And I hope after what's happened now, I hope the GOP suffer for quite a long time just for taking side with Trump and McConnell.
Oh, I hope there's like a civil war, and I'm glad. Like, let them hate each other. Trump hates him. He hates Trump, and we hate both of them. Like,
Hamid, is everyone in the UK as familiar with American politics as you seem to be?
We are. A lot of us are. I mean, the thing is, especially on the left, we are infatuated with the US politics, and even way before Trump came along. But especially like nowadays, when you look at it and you think, how on earth? I mean, okay, we knew there were some elements of the GOP that was so to the right, but how did the whole party veer so far to the right? And we know America's not like that. So it's like I mean, nowadays, like I think earlier this week, I watched something on YouTube, one of my links that came up, and they had something on Matt Gaetz, who is in a lot of trouble. And then there's like Roger Stone and Rudy Giuliani and so on, and you just sit there with a box of popcorn and you think, wow, this is a great story. Just keep going, because I want all these bastards locked up. A few years ago they were all they were all acting as if like they had the ultimate power, but the power ultimately always rests with the people anyway. So hope they get their comeuppance.
Well, I mean, half of the Republican Party is right now just like the cult of Trump, and the other half are just like austerity crazy. So it's both like trash. I mean,
I think what was alarming was when Trump put the stimulus previously, and he gave such a big cut to the upper, the wealthy. He gave such a huge tax cut to them and an incentive that, hang on, where's middle America? Where's lower America? Surely and it just kind of you can see it from straight out that, hang on, this guy is just trying to keep those that are favorable to him on his side financially. He doesn't care about socially. And now, I think the stimulus package that Biden, I think, is like $6 trillion that they put forward. I mean, a majority of it looks really good. Let's hope it kind of gets to deliver on the ground what it's supposed to.
Well, what amazed me was that like even when Trump wanted a bigger check for U.S. citizens, like half of his party was like no. And then I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, look, I don't like Trump as much as the next guy, but the one thing that he does that's actually going to help people, you shitty human beings are saying no to, that's like a whole new level of scum.
I agree. And I think, I don't know why, but part of me being cynical, I think deep down, Trump didn't really want to do it, but he did it to make himself look, okay, look, I'm not like the rest of the party. I want this done. But really, he kind of held on to it, for so long. He kind of stagnated the whole thing, and kind of made him look shitty as well as the party. We knew the party was shitty anyway, because they have such a weird kind of mentality. I mean, I grew up in the days, like I said earlier, in the days of Ronald Reagan and then George Herbert Bush, and it was always like, okay, there are pockets of America which are like this. The rest of America is actually, getting on with trying to make itself successful financially, socially, etc. But in the last, I think, 10 to 15 years, that division's definitely come forward a lot more.
By the way, Hamid, your video is flickering. I don't know if that's like your bandwidth or.
Hang on. It could be. It could be. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Bandwidth tends to do that just in general. It seems like no matter how good your signal is.
Yeah. No. I think. I mean, I took my. So I'm running on my own mobile data rather than Wi-Fi at homes, because sometimes that was being a bit kind of, but it was buffering a lot slower.
It was fine for me. I saw Hamid just fine, so it's totally up to you if you want to have it on.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, whether you have it on or off, it's fine. It's
okay.
Yeah.
I think
Ultimately,
it's better now.
what happens to this We do go live on YouTube and Twitch, but ultimately we've become a real podcast. And Shale will take all of our sounds and mix them back up so that we're even and it sounds good. So we can always find it on Anchor FM.
Now it's not doing it anymore. So it was on my side. Okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's gonna take. I think it's gonna take someone like Yang, because like, I'm not proud to admit this, but in 2016, I tell this to everyone, everybody knows, like, I was pro-Trump because I just thought like he would know, you know, how to get this economy back up and running. And like, I was kind of tired of all the identity politics. But like a year into his presidency, I'm like, well, the economy's not even getting better. So like, screw this guy. Like he's all talk. And then when Yang started running, like he actually talked about like the real why, what's going wrong, and he started to get a lot of like former people who supported Trump onto his side. But then you got a lot of other people on the left who said like, oh, he's getting all these like white supremacists and racists and stuff like that. No. I think like we don't make those divisions. Those people who are like really hit hard economically and voted for Trump solely on those reasons, and those who are at the actual like racists and bigots and stuff like that. You know, I don't know.
See, I'm divided on Trump in the sense that he's never really run a business successfully. So he's always gone bankrupt and always been in debt. So for people to believe that, okay, you know, this guy knows what he's doing economically, it's like, no, you know, stay away from this guy. If you want success stories in America, then there are loads of others compared to Trump. Trump was like literally using, obviously, the apprentice program to... Yeah, and he was kind of, you know, bragging himself or bigging himself up to say, yo, look, I'm this successful billionaire. Well, really? I mean, a billionaire sits on TV and does a you know, TV show, because no other billionaire would do it. So
yeah, that was just the character, right? So it was a part he could play well enough that people believed him, and a certain sect of America doesn't understand that reality TV shows are not actually reality.
Exactly. And I think this is one of the things that I used to watch some of those shows occasionally for a laugh, because I used to think, how dumb do you have to be to believe that this guy sitting here, you know, you want to work for him, or you want to earn this money? Like, give me a break, you know. And no doubt, I mean,
hold on just one moment,
who was on the show.
I have to do a little pushback here, because if people really understood money, right, which some people do instinctively, they understand that the way that wealthy people really are able to manage wealth is because they are constantly in debt. They can borrow huge amounts of money into existence, right? This is something that poor people cannot do. And so, you know, the worship of him is his ability to run this system. And the system works this way.
This is the other thing. You know, when you look at people like Jeff Bezos and even Elon Musk, they're getting incentives from the government. So they're going to get even richer. So for people to say, oh, these guys are billionaires because they've done it themselves. No, they didn't.
That's a load of crap.
They got kickbacks. They got incentives from the government. Exactly. You know, the thing is, Elon Musk, he's getting a contract with NASA for like $2 billion. And guarantee you what he's going to go and deliver is not going to be worth $2 billion. But because he's aligned himself with the government, the amount of taxation, like kickbacks, that he's going to get for his rest of his companies is going to be huge. Yeah. So I think, you know, like Trump, thank God he came and went, because I think in a way, kind of, I agree with Ariel, because previously it was just the establishment. It was just like, you know, run for the course one after the other. Doesn't matter who came in. But I think he's kind of shaken it up, and I think now people have realized, okay, you know what, there were things that we were doing wrong, or, you know, we want changes in, and maybe Andrew Yang is going to be that person. He's still young, he's got very good ideas, but, you know, I think without Trump, we wouldn't, you know, a lot of part of the states wouldn't have woken up. I think they are, you know, kind of aware now how things are, or how they would like things to be.
Here's the funny thing.
Can I say one thing real quick? I think
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
So
I think
hopefully
that,
we won't get
how
Son of
bad,
Trump coming up anytime soon either.
right? I think that how bad Trump was, he still would have gotten away with being that bad if it hadn't been for the coronavirus. I think that we were on track to just kind of let him slide the way we did George W. and like think of him as like a really bad, stupid guy. But I think that coronavirus and his response to that was so terrible that it was a big part of people actually seeing how bad he was.
Oh
I
yeah,
agree,
I've got to
but I
agree
think,
with that.
but I think socially, if you look at Trump, even from first year
Oh,
onwards, and when he allowed so many
I
things to
can't hear
happen in the
him
US.
when he's
Uh,
talking.
oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I hear you. I think Ariel's
Okay.
having trouble with his connection.
Okay. But I was going to say, when he first came into power in that first year, and then there were certain things happening in different parts of America, on a social level, societal level, and he allowed him to just happen. And actually, he backed the wrong side. It kind of showed his real, kind of idealism where he stood, and whether he's racist himself or not, I don't know, but he knew that if he kept that division, that aspect going, it'll be like, okay, he's going to get a lot more, press, whether it's good or bad, but he's going to get a lot more press, which means the people will see that he's
Right.
different from the rest of the establishment, and he can then say, yeah, I'm your real president. I'm standing up for you folks, whether you're, white American, Hispanic American, and so on.
And
He
that's what we're
actually
talking about is the stimulus checks that went directly to Americans, where he actually wanted to have the White House send us all letters explaining how it came from him, and he wanted
Right.
to
He
sign the
wants to put
check.
his name on every one of them. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was like going
yeah.
back to the days of McCarthy or something, wasn't it?
But this is
Mhm.
specifically, like Donald Trump knows his people. Let's face it.
Yeah.
There's one thing that Donald Trump does well is he
Branding.
knows, yes, he knows his audience and the people that are going to support him. And he knows that the reason we have so many people who will follow him no matter what is they believe that they're going to be financially enriched, right? Their
Yeah,
business is
yeah.
going to thrive. And as
Right.
long as their business is not thriving, he has to find a way to pin it on somebody else. It's coronavirus. It's China. It's somebody else
Yeah.
that's causing you
Well,
to not thrive.
look at this. Like everybody said, like, oh, why should we have Yang? Because we already had an outsider businessman. And then Yang says, no, Trump is a marketing charlatan. I am a businessman.
Exactly. I 100% agree.
I gotta say, I think that it was rather a bad move on the campaign's part not to highlight that he was also quite the philanthropist on his own. Like
Right.
there was a lot of talk about his business and his ideas, but nobody really did pay much attention to his charitable work, which I think that would have gone a long way for a lot of the leftists who thought that he was a tech billionaire who was out to, if they had shown off like that side a bit more, the philanthropy side, that he was not only wealthy, but he was doing good with his wealth. That would have
But you gotta
been much
understand,
more.
like the establishment media doesn't want to do
Well, I
that.
agree
May not
that
want to.
that would make.
do
Yeah, I agree, Mia, that may have made a difference for some people, but I think something that isn't the one thing that people don't understand, I think, really, is that the things we talk about in public are not the real issues. And that's true even now, even us with this podcast. There are things we have never talked about even on our podcast. And it's so, it's like tied in so deep to your identity, right? Stuff like, we can't talk about, what are the real reasons? Like, racism is not the first thing that's going to come out of a person's mouth. What's going to come out of the mouth is a justification for, the fact that we want us to do better because we're better than them. There's we can't talk about those things. We can't talk about, the fact that if we're just poor, the fact that we can't actually start a family. These are the real problems. And so sometimes when we talk at each other in these Twitter spaces and stuff, we're really talking about something that's like it's like we're always talking around the issues. We can't just get at the basic issue. Like this entire year, I've been waiting to get married and I haven't been able to do it because they don't have enough money, right? And I can't seem to, there's no way to get a job. Like these are the basic issues. And then we end up just talking, we talk left, right, or something else. But like the real issues never come up.
But I think it's like what you just said, because it's difficult to get a job, or even if jobs are available, then it's like, well, do they pay enough? Are they going to be enough for you to kind of, do the things you want on a, kind of to keep you and your loved ones happy or, healthy? A lot of times, even in the UK, we have jobs where they weren't paying enough. They're not, they were, young kids were being left to stay at home while their mothers, or their fathers were going off to work all night and coming home. And then they wondered why there's an impact on society where there's kids who are disenfranchised because they can't, but they go to school in the morning, they're not awake because their parents are not, able to provide a decent amount, income wise or living standard wise for them. And this in a country where we claim, we're so developed and we're so well off, when we don't actually get a chance to actually assist those people in society that we should be, but instead we give tax cuts to million and billionaires. It's like, hang on, your priorities are wrong. You should be looking at helping the people who are down up rather than who are already up, giving them a further incentive. Like, what for?
So,
Right.
Ariel had mentioned that you also know a lot about what happens in Sweden because you spent some time
Norway.
there. Oh, Norway?
Sweden, yeah.
I got both.
Well, I mean, Swedish society is slightly different to Norwegian, but in terms of how the countries or the governments run them, very similar. But Norway is hugely rich, and they are just so focused on not only keeping their country intact, but society. They're making sure that they help every element of their society. So whether you're a refugee or an asylum seeker, or whether you're a Norwegian born there, they will help you to not only integrate into society by getting you to learn the language, by giving you programs, by giving you housing, by offering you work once you've learned that language as well. And it's, I mean, every time I go, I've been going for nearly 30 years, and I get impressed every time I go. I'm like, wow, if Norway had the weather of Barcelona, I would move there tomorrow.
So have you actually lived in Sweden then, or Norway?
No, I've got a cousin who married a Norwegian lady.
I see.
More than 40 years ago. So I go and visit him every year, and obviously
every year. Wow.
My nephews and nieces are like, my world to me. So when I go, obviously he's a little bit older than me, so I have a lot of mutual respect for him. But the kids are the ones that I kind of have a lot of time with, and then it just means I can get to spend time with them, but also get to see the country, meet the people there. And the more and more I actually find out, it's like, damn, I wish I'd not come to the UK. I wish I'd come to Norway, a long time ago as well. But the society is so liberal, it's ridiculous. Honestly, they don't really have an army, as in like that one. Like every country puts a certain GDP towards their army and then increases it every year and so on. Norwegians don't do that because they know they're never going to be in conflict with anyone. And majority of the money that they get from oil, the majority of the money they get from oil and gas, they invest into infrastructure, into society. And their cities from, say, 20, 30 years ago, which used to be just small towns with, 5,000, 10,000 people, are now like proper cities with huge, kind of schooling provisions, shopping facilities, housing, new houses built. But what they've done is they've kept their country's society and like their scenery intact. They've not gone and dug up stuff just for the sake of making money out of it. If it's going to ruin their countryside, or they've left it as it is. So every time, and they've invested a lot of money into their social programs. As I was saying to Ariel before, if say you're a husband and wife in Norway, that doesn't mean you start looking into moving there right now. Yeah, no, because they will have strict policies on how they get people to come in, but they do want people to come and live there. But what they do is, if you're a husband and wife, say wife, you have a child, so now the kids don't go to school until their age of 7. So up until then, if the wife wants to stay at home and she was working before, then the government will pay her company to keep her at home so she can spend quality time with her children. Or if she wants to go back to work after 1, 2, 3 years, then she can co-share work duties. So her husband can stay at home and his company will be paid whatever amount he was earning so that he stays at home with the kids. So it's not like this fear of...
The government pays the corporation that employs him.
Yes.
This is a bit of a tangent, but I think that it's interesting. You were talking about how they only let certain people in. It's kind of, people tell you, why don't you move where the jobs are or whatnot, right? Well, like, you're living in poverty. You don't really have anything to offer somebody when you're moving somewhere. So they're just not going to take you in general. Like, I couldn't pick up and move to Norway with my disabled child and my son and no.
To be honest with you, they will never. The one thing I've noticed about Norway is they will never say no to you. If you come to Norway and you want to move there, as long as you learn the language and you become a part of society, they never say no to anyone. And over the 25, 30 years that I've been going there, I've seen Somali refugees come to there. I've seen people from Middle East, who, like, especially like my background is Pakistani, but also Iranian. And, I've seen Iranians there and Pakistanis who have been disenfranchised because they got such a religious government in their own country. So they're like, I can't, I need to get out of here because I can't live in this kind of environment.
Have you ever seen American refugees there?
Kind of my point.
I'll be honest with you. I've seen Americans
how would
there.
you know which ones they were?
I've seen Americans there, and majority of them have very good lifestyles and live pretty well. So I don't know if they were refugees or not.
At this point, you never know. At this point.
Well, Hamid is laughing, but Ariel knows that I actually tried to escape the United States. So I was a refugee from the United States in Mexico for a time. So
you should have come to the UK. You would have loved it in the UK, trust me.
I couldn't because they would have hunted me down. Getting on a plane would have required letting them know.
Okay. Oh, that's a different story then. Okay, no, then I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but her story is crazy because like it was like her husband said something. And are you comfortable with me explaining the whole thing, Faye?
It's fine. I don't want to take over the episode. I'm happy to listen to Hamid and talk
it's just
to him
a little
later.
segment. So basically, like her husband found out that she took the kids, but she wasn't trying to steal them or anything, and then they sent her to jail, like in federal prison, right? And then it's like, what the hell?
Well, I was trying to escape the United States because we had so many. I had already had so many legal issues, right? Family court here in the United States is terrifying, especially for immigrants. So what happened immediately was I was locked down from being able to take my children to see my own family in Taiwan. I was pregnant and I needed to go to Taiwan in order to have my child. And the reason is I had money at the time. And I wasn't sure that the welfare system here would help me with a C-section that would cost $20,000 in any major hospital in the United States.
Whoa.
So in the UK, it's hard to understand. Yes. So if you don't have private insurance, right.
Honestly,
now you're starting to understand. Yes.
Yeah, no, we have what we call the NHS, which is the National Health Service, that was set up just a year or so after, or I think 2 years after the Second World War. And everybody, irrespective if you're rich, you're poor, whatever, whoever's here, they get free treatment.
Yeah, and no one will ever get rid of it. I mean, no one should.
Like,
we
No.
we all envy it. We know about the NHS.
You know, it's funny that you laugh at the American refugees thing, but the thing is like, look, like I'm living like comfortably, but I'm kind of lucky in that sense because like my parents took like a lot of things from Iran and came here, but the people in like West Virginia, like what? Like you guys are living in like all these like dilapidated structures and like you can't even afford to like change a tire and like you're pro Trump. Like I don't know. Like
Exactly.
that's like
Well,
that's
I
like
mean,
a
it's not like they have a good choice in the Democrats either. There is not a party in the duopoly for the poor. You know,
right.
that's really
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But
You
then
can't-
over here,
I would just
Right,
pick up
yeah.
and move to Norway if I could, because
So
screw
you
this.
know, I don't think they would. They only take you if you've got a skill. If you can really ply a good trade, you know, you got to go over there and hack it in capitalism.
No. Listen,
Hey,
I
I
tell
think
you,
you just
wait, let's
contradicted
have Hamid
Hamid
talk.
because
yeah.
Hamid
I
actually
was gonna
said
say-
that they
No,
would take
actually,
anyone.
he said as long as you integrate, and that involves getting a job, and that involves like having a skill that will actually get you a job on the market. And good luck.
But to be honest, Norwegian population is probably 5-6 million, the whole country, roughly about 6 million. So they always are. They're like Canada. They always keep saying, "Yeah, come, no problem." But the thing is with Norway
I
is
spent a long
they
time
will
trying
always.
to go to Canada. They will not have me.
Yeah, there they will not have.
And I'm just
You know,
in New York. I'm pretty close, but they're absolutely vehement about it. No, Shale, you will not ever come here.
I
Well,
know
you would
loads
have
of
to have a
Indian.
special skill for that.
I know loads of
Canada,
Indians and Pakistanis who, for some reason, they apply to Canada and they get
You
in.
know,
They're like, "Yeah, no
They
problem."
must have a friend
Okay,
in there.
I know
I've
the
got
reason.
no familial connections there, nothing. I'd be starting from
No.
scratch and be like, you know, for a long time ago, I was like, you know, things are going bad here. I should really get up there. So I just sort of went to their website. You know, this isn't, I don't know, over 10 years ago, 15 maybe. And I just went from there, looked at it, and there's really no path for me, you know? But anyway, sorry.
Hamid, are you an immigrant yourself? Did you
I am.
immigrate
Yeah,
too?
I came to the UK when I was 8 years old, and
Okay, so you didn't have to do that application yourself. Your parents did it.
I mean, not my dad was he worked as a doctor, so he came here about 20 years before we came here and settled and was working, and then we were still living back home, and as we were all growing up, he decided that enough is enough, that he can't keep like living two lives, one living here and one over there with his
And
family
over
over there.
there would
So
have been Pakistan.
it was Pakistan. I mean, my dad was Pakistani, my mum was Indian, with Iranian or Farsi background and so on. So a lot of type kind of I of course I'm proud of where I was born, but I don't like. I'm the kind of person that I don't see a boundary. I don't see I'm like anybody. I'm a person of the world. So whether I'm in England or anywhere else, yes, I'm gonna do my best to make the best effort to help somebody and get on with people that I live with and contribute, to where I am.
So
but yeah,
yeah,
we came
I
here.
was
Sorry, yeah.
I was an immigrant also to the United States as a child. So the same thing. My parents applied. My father followed my stepmom, who was the first person to apply for school. Then my father applied as an architect, and some company sponsored him, and so they were both able to be here. And then they brought me, right? And so I didn't have to do that step, but I did have to do the naturalization step later. And what I found out
Okay.
from my many friends who were in our community where we grew up was a lot of different Asian immigrants, a lot of Indians, Chinese, Indonesian, Korean, all these different ones. And what I found out was that there are different rules for every nationality.
Very
And that
much
may be
so.
true in every
Really?
country. Yes,
Really?
this is the thing that
Oh.
people don't understand. Yes.
I didn't know
So I
that.
was Yes, I was told that if for my Indonesian friend to stay in the United States, even though she had gone through school, she had grown up with me, went to high school, continued on to college, even got a master's degree, she was not able to stay in our country because she couldn't come up with $1 million Her parents were wealthy, but they were not paying $1 million for her to stay here. You would need $1 million investment in the United States in order to stay. Or she would need, one of those job visas. So at the time, they were giving them out to tech people. They were not giving them out to an MBA. They had MBAs all over the place.
I'm sorry, but like,
Canada,
why
you need $2 million.
Why waste that amount of money to come to a place like this? I'm sorry, like,
well,
I know
the
that was
parents were like,
comedic.
we helped you,
I
but
know that sounds
you're
like a
not able
joke.
to stay.
But that's
Yeah.
actually the
If you have
truth.
that kind of money,
Yeah.
if you have that kind of money, America's great, right? Like if you have that kind of money, you can come here, you can buy your way to the front of every line, you can get your way to the top of every list. It's people.
But that's the
but you already spent it getting here, so why would you? Like,
it's people who move or at the bottom who can't move around between borders. It's
so
people who have
eventually. Yeah, eventually my friend ended up marrying someone who was American because she traveled extensively in East Asia writing things, and they fell in love, and she was able to move back. But like it's like, wow, we still depend on a marriage in order to get back to where we grew up.
terrible.
That's crazy.
So stupid. It's
That is.
I don't know. Yeah,
And then
I'll tell you one thing. When I
Mhm.
first came to this country, obviously at that time when I came here, we had a big influx of Vietnamese people that were coming over because of the aftermath of the war, and then we had a lot of African and Caribbean people that were coming over. So where I grew up, we had a big melting pot of different nationalities. And I remember when I think a year after I got here, or was it 2 years, I went to secondary school, and I purposely chose to go to a Christian school, a Church of England school, because being a Muslim, I was like, okay, I know my family, my faith, but I want to know more about Christianity, and I want to know, see if not only the education is good, but also the people, by people that used to turn up to Holy Communion. Okay, so these people, it was a where I live. Can you hear me? Hello?
You're cutting in and out a bit, but we can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I think that's my wife telling me that I've got 15 minutes before I break my fast.
Oh, come on. Ask for 20. No, go on, please.
No. So I'm going to have to excuse you guys in about 10, 15 minutes, if
I really
that's okay.
appreciate your time. It was a pleasure. I really do wish you could stay
and
more.
The thing was, I was going to say was when I finished school, and I would say probably not more than 2% of the school was Christian. I went to a college which was predominantly in a Jewish area in North London. And me being a Muslim and being brought up in the environment that I was, to me, religion was like secondary. It was like how you get on with people. And even going to a Jewish college and, getting on with people who were from, very different backgrounds, but was either Jewish or not, not practicing either. It was like, when I look back and I think actually we had such a great inclusivity about ourselves. Now when I look at how things are, everybody's kind of marginalized themselves into their own little areas. They kind of don't, kind of mix as much. So they create this kind of
that's
false.
no fun.
It's not. And the thing is, they create this image in their head of what they either hear from people or read in the papers about every different part of society. And I keep saying to them, I mean, like I said, I worked in the civil service as well for so long. I keep saying to people, I said, look, you won't know what a Hindu person is like or a Jewish person is like unless you actually go and become friends with them and get to see them and hear about them. And likewise for Muslims, I said, if you kind of keep yourself alienated into your own community and not really venture out and get to know more people, you're not really going to get to know what a wonderful kind of world and people that we are, because you just heard somebody else say, oh, you don't want to talk to those people, or those guys are weird, or this and that. You have to kind of take a more leap of faith and kind of go out and mix more with people, which
that's why I love the internet so much, and that's why I loved hosteling so much. But yeah, I'd drive with you on that.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I
And the
think it's just
wonderful thing about this new internet age is I'm playing a game, for example, where whenever somebody comes into the chat, there's an automatic translator. I hit the button and I can see what they said in Arabic or in some other language.
brilliant.
Yes, I can
Brilliant.
see, it gets translated from Tagalog or whatever language they're using, Japanese, and I can see what they were, trying to communicate. Sometimes the translator fails, but it's a really interesting time to live in.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I think from what I see nowadays, especially in London, which is a huge melting pot of people, but you always have like segregated areas. You have a Jewish area where predominantly not many people apart from Jewish people go. You have a Bangladeshi area where predominantly Bangladeshis go, and you have a Chinese area, and it's likewise for Pakistanis, for Indians, and for Polish and so on. And it's like 30, 40 years ago, that was never the case. Your next door neighbor could have been Polish, Nigerian, Jamaican, Vietnamese, and so on. And
It's
now
like they're ghettoized because they're getting together and cluster together. But it is very
yeah,
convenient. It is very convenient to go to the Chinese part of town or the Indian part of town and go shopping because you know exactly what you can
it
find.
is. But the thing is, like we got one part of northwest London, which is primarily Chinese and Filipino, and surrounding countries like Cambodian and so on, and Malaysian. They're all kind of situated together. So that's great. But what if you want to get to know them? You have to kind of literally either move into that area, and then even then they might still be speaking in their own language rather than in English. So you kind of whereas in the past that was not the case. That was you could live on one street and you could have maybe 10 different nationalities.
Well, I think that that's not necessarily a problem, but it is scary for other people sometimes. They feel that they've entered a whole different place. But it's very comforting for the people from that group to feel like, oh, I'm in my space, in my
Yeah,
in my
that's
comfort zone.
true. But like
So,
speaking as like a son of like Persian immigrants, it's like yeah,
mhm.
they do tend to like keep to themselves and like talk with themselves, but like it don't you want a little bit of like variety in your life to like
Exactly.
understand like what's out there, what's going on, how things are, and it's enriching. And there's so
Yeah,
many people
exactly.
that like it's not it kind of gets old when you see the same people, you talk to the same people, you do the same things week after week, month after month. So I think that's what Hamid's trying to say.
Well, I do,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I do enjoy having different clusters of areas where I can visit and feel like I'm really in a different place. But um, I wanted to give Hamid a chance to say goodbye to everyone if he's taking off in about 10 minutes. Do you want
I
to
am
give
is
yeah,
in a few minutes. I will need to go and prepare the food, and which my wife has prepared, but help set up the table. Otherwise, I'll get told off.
sure.
For
Do you
not-
want to give us do you want to give us like a Twitter or some sort of handle for people to be able to contact you if they want to continue conversations with you?
Yeah, I mean, Ariel has got my Twitter handle, which is it's at just call me Q. So because a lot of the time people just call me Q or H, which is H for Hamid and Q because of my surname Qureshi. So
Oh, I thought it
a
was
lot.
Q just call me. Q just call me or just call me Q?
No, just call me Q. At
Oh,
just call me Q.
interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Is that too
but no,
confusing?
it's it would be great, obviously, to liaise with you guys and obviously join in future chats because it's kind of enlightening to learn and hear from other people, and I think I've got a lot of learning and wanting to hear from your experiences, and hopefully it'll kind of allow me to not only put forward what my viewpoints or experiences are here, but also take on some of your points, and maybe when I meet up with my kind of committee groups and people over here, then I can put some of that experience forward to them as well.
Awesome.
I,
Yeah,
I've
everyone.
really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you, Ariel, for bringing Hamid.
Oh, for
Good to
sure.
meet you.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah,
thank you,
for
Ariel,
sure.
as well.
for sure. I love being the connector of different like types of people and stuff. That's like my one thing. Remember, Hamid, everyone who comes is always can jump in no matter what. So don't be shy. Like if you see us in here and like you want to jump in either to listen or to talk, you're welcome.
No, thank you very much, and I appreciate you guys giving me time to kind of join you guys as well. It's it's enlightening for me as well to and I hope I learn a lot more from you guys over the next a few weeks onwards.
You're
So,
too. Go ahead, Mia.
I was just saying, can't wait to see more from you.
I know. I feel like he's being so modest, learning from us. Really, we're
No,
here to learn
I
from
am
you.
honestly. I am learning from you guys as well because irrespective of my experiences or my age, we always have experiences that we can always kind of share and learn from anyway. So yeah.
So
and
I
I
thought
think next,
Ariel was going to tell you, but we have a text channel here in this where it shows the schedule, and that gives the definitive schedule for the weekend every Thursday when Shale goes to make the schedule. So you can see who we're going to have on, and if you wanted to come back and talk and have another episode where we have you as a special guest, go ahead and let us know. We'll just schedule
definitely.
it, another
No,
time.
I'd love that, and I think next time you see me, the beard might have gone by then. So
all right, we'll see more of you, huh?
I decided about 3 weeks ago that for Ramadan I'm gonna keep the beard, and then once Ramadan is over, I might revert back to my normal look. So
normal beardless self.
Well, right.
Yeah, beardless self.
How does the beard relate to Ramadan? I'd never heard that this was a thing.
It doesn't really, no. But the thing is, it kind of it kind of gets you into that psyche of like prayers and being a lot more spiritual about the whole month itself. So I was like, yeah. So I was like, when I started, I thought, what, I'll keep it.
In Judaism, though, like once one of your parents passes away, like you're not allowed to like shower or shave for like a couple of days. Just I don't know what it's called, but yeah,
shaving is not allowed.
Sitting
Interesting.
Shiva, Ariel.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't know that. You're way more Jewish than me.
Good one. Yeah.
So, Hamid, what's for dinner? What are you planning on making? Because I was curious.
Oh God. I'll tell you what, shall I post a picture of it on Twitter? Because
that would
normally,
be so awesome.
Normally what we have is we have a kind of a medley of fruits. So my wife tends to make this with various grapes, bananas, etc., all cut and put together with a little bit of a spice kick to it rather than just bland. And then today I requested that if we could have lentils, because we eat a lot of meat and I don't really like meat a lot of the time. So I was kind of requested if we can have lentils, and so we got that with a roti, which is like chapati, and then with rice as well. So I mean, I don't want to say too much. It might make you guys hungry as well.
Yes,
I would like a roti. I would like some nice Indian food.
Listen, you like I say, if you guys were here, I'd invite you guys to come down. But
this is the only way I can enjoy some of these foods, because East Texas does not offer any roti.
Yeah, we don't have the institution of Indian takeout here at all. So
no.
Yeah, I would love to go. I wish I could.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things with our food is we have a lot of spicy food, but also a lot of meat. So it kind of, I mean, the whole month is supposed to be that you don't actually put weight on. You're actually supposed to lose weight, but we tend to always put weight on. So
interesting.
We Americans tend to also always put weight on. Funny, huh?
Yeah, I think what happens also, Shao, is a lot of people invite each other to come over and celebrate with us or have food with us, and then it's like a huge array of feast really.
Sure.
So it's like you can't then just eat a little bit. You have to eat a lot to show the appreciation.
Yeah,
so,
sure, you have to.
Are so much
that's true. Like, why aren't you eating that?
I don't understand. Do you guys also have the thing of like tarof where you offer and they say no, but then you offer again, and then the third time they have to say yes?
Exactly. I think the thing is, in our culture, it's like it's frowned upon that if somebody says no. It's like, hang on, I've asked you once, come on. And if they say no, and we're just thinking they're being like, just being polite and saying no. So you say a second and a third time, no. I'm not taking no for an answer. Sit down. You're gonna have food with us. And the thing is, it's like, generally when people do mix or sit down and kind of have food and kind of have a bit of company, they tend to eat a little bit more and more and more. So it kind of satisfies you that actually the food you've made, that they've joined in and enjoyed it as well. So yeah, I mean, today I think we got shish kebabs as well. So they're like the long kibbude
shish
kebabs.
kebab. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we got
We say it totally wrong
Yes,
here.
now
We
we're
totally
very
do.
hungry.
Yeah.
We'll have some shish kebabs, please.
Yeah.
kebabs. Yeah. So
What about
That's all right.
kubide? Is that the one, or is that
kubide? That's right. The kubide ones, the long ones. Yeah. So we have chicken ones and we have lamb ones. So yeah, and
You know
they're
what we
not the
call those in
spicy
New
ones,
York?
they're like-
Speedies.
So yeah, but me today, because I'm like so fed up all week of just eating meat, different types of meat, I just want lentils. I just want my body to kind of feel cleansed, that I've got some kind of
Go
we
for a
call-
nice dal, yeah.
dal, definitely.
That's what
Shao knows his stuff. I'm impressed.
Yeah, well, I'm from New York. I know Indian food, but that's just because I'm very fortunate to be from the place in the country that has the good Indian food. I do love Indian food. Absolutely phenomenal. I mean,
I think we're blessed where we are as well. We got so much array of different types of food here as well. So like, when people say to us, what's the most British thing you eat? And that's fish and chips. So for us, it's fish and chips. That's as
fish and chips
as
is
British as
also
it gets.
super good, though.
I heard that chicken tikka masala was like a British version because they added the sauce or like something.
It's the most how can I say? It's the most popular British dish. Yes.
And think about what it is. It's
go.
like it's just got a ton of cream and fat and sugar in it. Of course.
Exactly.
Of course, it's popular.
The thing with British,
yeah.
But the thing with British people is they love to have different kinds of cuisines. So there'll be a kind of a fashionable thing where at one point they'll be going into Thai food, and then they'll move into Indian food, and so on and so on. So every high street now literally has a different takeaway that you can just order from, and it's not even like kind of how can I say, like crappy food. It's like really nice food that you would make even better than you would make at home. So
That's
yeah,
really
I
nice.
mean, yeah, we get spoiled. So, but listen, I got to go because I've got literally 2 more minutes to open my fast. So it's been lovely speaking to you guys, and
enjoy your dinner.
Hopefully we'll catch up again. Thank you so much, Ariel. Thank you, everybody.
For sure, Hamid.
Take care.
Catch
Thank you.
on
Bye.
Okay, so you guys don't know this.
Enjoyed that. Yeah.
You probably don't know this because I just did this earlier today. I tried to get some yanggang foodies to come join us to have a yanggang foodie episode.
That sounds good.
So I think we've already kicked it off with Hamid.
Right. Yeah. No. He was such like, I was in a space. I don't know. It was about gun control. And he just talked about it, and he was just making so much sense. And then like we got to talking about like Norway for some reason, because we were talking about like U.S. politics, and he's like, "Oh, I've been to Norway like a whole bunch of times. They have this fund for people," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm talking about that fund." And then like we really started to hit it off, and there it was.
We're talking about Norway because Norway is more progressive on the UBI front than most places. It's one of the best places to point to for examples of pilot programs, I believe. I think that's what he was saying in context, but I'm not. Right. I think that's what he was strongly implying, right?
Yeah, that's what he was saying. But I guess we were just talking about like that stuff in general, because there was like, I don't know, somebody else in there saying that like, oh, in America you can make it, and it's like the hard work stuff. So then it jumped to that, and like, yeah.
Well, I'm funny that I now have a strategy for moving to Norway. My
good
son,
luck.
I'm going to dangle my son in front of them. My eldest one, who's going to get his EMT license and all that.
All right,
They'll take him, and then I'll be able to attach myself to that.
Right.
I'm feeling very, very jealous. Of the possibilities.
They might make you contend. They might make you contend with a troll, like a bridge troll. I'm not sure.
That's possible. I do know the answer to a lot of bridge troll riddles, though, because I do love a good fairy tale since I was a little girl.
Then you might be a Norwegian in the future.
There you go.
I'm an expert with bridge trolls.
Good, good.
Cool.
I know all the billy goats that are appropriate to sacrifice to them.
Well, that's the thing is like we can talk politics, but politics like is sometimes, get your dander up, and you're always like, we're always talking about something that's edgy or sounds like complaining,
Right.
but you can always bond over food. There's no way to.
Right.
Go for
yeah.
a nice doll.
Doll.
A nice doll.
That's a funny word, But it's funny. Paneer means cheese in Persian.
Sag paneer. Some
Yeah,
sag paneer, some doll. Let's get him back in here. We can just keep talking about it.
It's sag in Farsi actually means dog. So then when I saw that first, I was like, yeah. So I was like, oh my
Not
god, they're making
spinach.
cheese out of dogs. And I'm like, what the hell? I guess
Diet, so I could be enjoying this conversation a little better myself.
right.
I'll hungry now.
Yeah. Funny stuff.
I wonder why we don't have a way for Mia to do her art here, on our Discord.
Right.
Because Mia is such an amazing artist.
Oh, by the way, I just remember that Zoom award that you got, Mia. Was that like the Zoom company that noticed you, or like what was that?
Yeah. What happened there? I wrote them on Twitter, asking them if they could just maybe add a Zoom to their annotation tools, because they don't have a Zoom and their name is Zoom. So I was kind of being a little bit cheeky, and I asked for like a color picker, and I just showed them the examples of my work to say there's a lot of potential for your program. You could do so much more with it, but I'm certain that since you are like a big corporation, you're not going to notice what I'm saying here. Blah blah blah, the usual, because we've all written corporations and had zero response before, right?
Right. Yeah.
And instead they wrote me
actually answered. Yeah.
Yeah.
They wrote me
Can you take a screenshot of that, or like or like show it on Twitter or something? Because I
could, but it's mine.
Right.
Well, anyway,
I guess there could be some way of you doing it with a screen share here.
Yeah, I was gonna say
screen share while we're talking.
Also, on Saturday nights we do like a social thing where people are just encouraged to come and share their screen, and you could certainly paint there and just chat with whoever comes. It's not streamed live, but the idea is it's just for the other people who are in the chat room.
Well, before we head out, I wanted to actually talk a little bit about this one thing that came into my, I don't know which one of you shared it to me. Was it you, Shale? The one about, in Brazil, they had new research or whatever that was showing that their UBI was really helping people, and specifically preventing people from committing suicide.
Oh, I retweeted that. Yeah, I just saw that on Twitter, and I retweeted that today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an article by Tanmoy Goswami. I'm probably getting his name wrong, but it's called "The Miracle That Stops People from Killing Themselves."
Yeah, it seems obvious to me. Yeah.
But what I found really interesting about this particular thing was the study came out of a lot of people. It was a subset that they were studying 76 million people. There was 76 million people in this data set. And the Brazilian cash transfer program was only $17. Was it $17 per month? Something like that? $17 US. So it wasn't like it wasn't a real basic income, because I don't think you could live off of $17 and meet all of your needs. But still, I mean, this is a pretty big, with 78 million people involved in this particular study. I think it's very interesting. But even with $17 a month, that can prevent a large number of suicides. I think it said something like 60% less suicides in the group that had this particular income.
Yeah, that's.
I think that a good part of that might be just psychological, knowing that somebody's like going to try and help you get through a little something every month. Because a lot of the times suicide is about feeling hopeless about tomorrow.
Or instead
Yeah,
of
or
feeling
just having
hopeful
like
about tomorrow.
having a little extra degree of freedom to choose something different, or just to have something that makes you happy for a minute.
Something to look forward to. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
which one of you or of your friends face said money is like storable, transferable status, right?
Well, hopefully we get Randy on. I have him scheduled. Our
Yeah.
schedule is he's supposedly coming for next Sunday. So he's a friend of mine from college. He was a grad student when I was an undergrad, and I studied snakes under him. We studied caudal luring, which means these little rattlesnakes and stuff. When they're neonatal, which means right after birth, they're very tiny and they don't have a real rattle yet. But they do have this little tail tip that is pale and kind of looks like a grub. And so they'll try to fish for, food.
As a lure, right?
Yeah, they use
Yeah,
their
yeah, they do
tail,
that.
the caudal luring, they use their
That's
tail to
wild.
to try to attract something that will investigate what is this, wriggly grub over here, and then the snake gets him. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I
So-
used to study with Randy.
that's wild. But
But now he's grown and he's, doing all his stuff with chronic health right now. He's working with a company that is researching chronic health, and they need more participants for their study. So I said,
Yeah.
let's invite him, and we'll have this great conversation, I think, next Sunday.
So I brought him up because if money is stored status, all great apes are like very, very status oriented creatures, and you need a certain amount of status to want to live, and if you just are perpetually impoverished, you just feel like there's nothing for you.
Right.
So knowing you have some income, you have something to work with, so it's just a great incentive.
And also, you guys were talking about the suicide thing. Kimberly K on Twitter Spaces actually has a space open, like suicide awareness and like prevention and stuff like that. So this is the parts of like social media that's like being not non-toxified by these audio conversations. I think there's so much potential in audio conversations to like untoxic, like purify social media. It's like a social media purifier. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm getting a bit of a headache. I'm going to pop off a little bit early.
Yeah.
I think we're about done.
Okay,
Yeah.
do you want to just say goodbye to everyone,
Yeah.
Mia, before you take off?
Yes. Bye-bye. My name is Mia. I'm Mia Songbird on Twitter. Mia Songbird on Afraid.world. I do the trickle up, the low, and the low with voice. I do Humanity Hangs on Tuesdays and Fridays. I'm going to be doing something else that I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be saying that who's doing it yet, but I'm doing it with Ariel.
Ooh.
Right. Yeah.
That came out wrong.
Well, they
Don't
already
anybody
know
clip that.
because they
Wait
were
a minute.
already invited, Mia, remember?
Yeah, these guys know, but any of our listeners might have.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not
I
sure what
get it.
I'm allowed and not allowed to say. in that
Right.
context.
For sure.
So,
Okay.
but there's something new coming soon, so keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out. Yeah.
Well,
And I think
yeah.
I'm going to say
We
We
goodbye
love
to
you.
you
Thank
guys.
you for hanging out.
Love you guys. Have a good one. I'm gonna go rest my head.
All right.
Yes, okay. I hope everybody feels better. Me too. Ariel,
Yeah.
do you want to do the next closing?
Yeah. I'll sign out. You can find me on Twitter at Ariels. That's ArielSaerials. And now I can host a Twitter space.
Congrats.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can be a host. So that's new. And as always, youtube.com/revolutionary thinking.
All right.
So, Ariel, do you know how people get notified when you open a space? Because I only see them when somebody drops it into our special DMs.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. All I know is that I see these purple circles with other people in it, and I click on the purple circles, and then the space comes up. or somebody creates like a group DM saying that they've opened up a space. So if I open a space and you don't see it, maybe I'll DM you guys. See what happens.
Yeah, just drop it in the podcast chat because I've never seen it appear on my phone or anywhere. Do you use Twitter on your laptop or do you use it on the phone?
No, for spaces,
Mhm.
spaces cannot be done on laptop or desktop or computer. Spaces are solely through phone, Android and Apple. That's what's up.
Okay, well, I'll look for the notifications. My name is Fei Ku, and I'm at Palestine Math on Twitter. On Facebook, you'd find me as Fei Ku. And I think I'm Ku Fei on Instagram. I don't use it much, but I do look at your stuff. How about you, Shale?
Nice, thank you.
I'm Shale Riley on Twitter. ShaelRiley. Thank you for spending some time with us. We hope you're well. We will be back next week with more basic income advocacy. Goodbye.
Great day, everyone.